Hey there. I think we are just about there. A couple of clicks and I'll be right with you. Okay. I think we are good to go. Always got to get it dialed in here and make sure that we are live and everything is working. Sweet. I think we are live. All right. Well, we'll give it just a moment for people to tune in. Oh, that sounds old, right? Tuning in. But no, this is a conversation tonight. And for those of you watching on replay, I will trim this up a little bit so you probably won't even see the beginning of this. But let me go ahead and start with who I am. I am Jonathan League. I am a family therapist and I am an addictions counselor. And tonight is a conversation, right? It's a conversation about being stuck. And the main area that I want to focus in on is really about young people, young adults who are stuck, but also their parents and their family who are supporting them. We had a wonderful discussion last night on this very topic about young adults getting stuck, and had some wonderful comments and back and forth um, about the challenges of the young people, young adults, and uh, some of their fears, some of the difficult circumstances that they're dealing with, and then also what that's like for parents, how to support, how to know when you're maybe enabling or you're not supporting enough, or when there's something that's going on in the relationship that uh, is is causing strife and tension. And so that's the whole idea, is talking about what are the many ways that we get stuck. And what do I mean by stuck, right? It's that point where you really don't feel like you're going anywhere. You don't feel like you're going anywhere with your life. You don't have direction, you don't have purpose. The things you're trying aren't working. You don't know where to go next. Maybe you feel like you're in the same cycle over and over and over, the same thing happening, right? You're stuck. And that is, uh, I mean, that is a very unsettling place, like when we're stuck. So that's what we're talking about. And there's many reasons why we get stuck. We get stuck because of our anxiety. We get stuck because of our fear. Sometimes we get stuck because we're addicted or we have some really bad habits that we're using as coping mechanisms. Uh, hey there, hey there. Hi, Miss Flores. Do you hear that whistle? Said hi. I don't know what whistle, but I hope my audio is coming in fine. Oh, that's the name of the person. Ha, sorry. That's hilarious. Um, that had me going there for a second. No, we're talking about being stuck and how that happens. And particularly, I mean, it's for all of us, but it happens with young adults so much now. I think there's just a need for direction. Uh, and yeah, so last night we were talking about this, and this is actually a carryover because we got specifically talking about young adults who feel like they're stuck, right? They're stuck at home, they're stuck uh, in their in their jobs or their lack of jobs and not moving forward, and then also parents wondering uh, how do we support, or family members, how do we support? And so I'll just go through some of this list, right? There's all these reasons. We're too anxious, right? There's that fear of failure. That's a big one. I would say that's intertwined in almost all stuck situations, is that fear of I'm going to screw up, I'm going to look bad, comparison, but then bad habits, bad coping mechanisms. Um, could it be that they've been over supported, spoiled, right? Internet habits, getting lost in the internet, uh, procrastination, avoidance, low self confidence, excuses, lack of accountability. I mean, what are some things that you think about when you think about reasons why people get stuck, especially that young adult group. There was a young man who was speaking up last night when we did this group, and he was talking about just how hard it is to make it on your own as a young adult. And his particular story is out of strife, and I don't know all the particulars, but he said he had to leave his home when he was 17, and he had to do it all on his own. And I thought that was very admirable. That's amazing that he was 25 now, and he got into a place where he had found success. He had a job, he was supporting himself, but there was an internal toll to that. So we had a topic uh, about uh, the wounds, really the relational wounds, the traumas that he went through, and uh, yeah, and just what it took for him and how not to give up on working on himself. So, hey, thanks for those of you who are joining. I really appreciate it. We're having a conversation tonight. I'm a family therapist. My name is Jonathan. Hello, everyone who's watching. I'm a family therapist. I'm an addictions counselor. I've been doing this for decades. So I've been around a while. And this is just a conversation, right? It's just opening up a topic for anyone who needs to hear it or wants to talk and ask questions. But the main thing is I want to talk about being stuck. Where do you feel stuck in your life? Right? Uh, where is your insecurity? What are the things that you feel are holding you back? What are you trying to figure out? Are you in a position, are you in a situation where you're trying, you've tried different techniques, you've tried approaches, you've started things, but you've not been able to follow through. Uh, if you are in that place, this is a good place to talk about it, right? About why we get stuck. And I'm just going to answer questions. And let me give you an example. Here was a question that just popped up earlier. A parent talking about their child getting stuck. They say, "I feel like my son is just glued to his gaming and social media. It's like he's living in a different world, and I worry that's what's keeping him from moving forward." That is a parent's idea of all I do is see them on the internet. All I do is see them gaming and they're not moving forward. Is that an escape? Is that a distraction? Is that how they're coping? What's going on there? So that's not really a question. That was a comment, but it's common, right? Are we getting lost in internet? So let's talk about that too. Um, and let me see here. Oops, just pulling this up. So what are some other ways that you feel stuck? How would you tell your kid as a mom what happened to Charlie? All right, well, I won't talk specifically about that situation, but I will uh, talk about how this is very prevalent. I was in a supervision session today with one of the therapists that work for me, and we were having a very similar conversation, right? Because uh, basically, most children, I mean, really, unless the children is completely isolated, but certainly by the time they're teenagers, they have been exposed to some very inappropriate and traumatic things. And recently, I mean, so many of our kids in society just witnessed a murder, right? And they've been exposed to things like porn. They've been exposed to violent acts, and that's just such a very common thing. So common, you'd almost be better uh, making the assumption that your child has seen some very disturbing images and videos and things like that. It's a reality. Um, so here's what I was talking with the counselor in supervision today. Is we're talking about so many times parents try to eliminate the threat. So it's all about how do I keep them from being exposed to that stuff, which is great, right? We need to do that. But also how to shut it down, right? If they have seen something or we think they're being exposed to something, let's limit that. Let's cut it off. That's very good too. Very important. But what is missed is processing what they've been exposed to, right? And I think this does have a lot to do with being stuck. Kids with anxiety, teens with anxiety, young adults with anxiety. We are just as a society, being exposed to so many just traumatizing things and discussions and issues, and a lot of people get the sense of what's the point? What's the point of going on? What's the point of dealing with this? So, um, and kind of just a defeated thing. We're not talking about how it's impacting our children. We're not even talking about how it's impacting us as adults. I talk to adults regularly who just consistently expose themselves to horrible images, horrible news, horrible things, and they're being really impacted by it. But back to children, right? The younger a child is, the less uh, they're going to be able to understand what they're seeing, right? Whether it's pornography or a violent act or something like that, it's extreme, right? It's going to catch their attention. It's like they can't look away. What am I looking at? What is this, right? Why are these people doing this to each other? Whatever they're seeing, right? And they don't understand it, but it's hard for them to not look away. And so uh, we have to help them because they don't have the words. And the younger they are, uh, they don't have a way to verbalize. Okay, this is what I saw. This is what I need to do with it. This is who I need to talk to, or this is where I need to get support on this or figuring it out. And when children, and even teens, but definitely children, when they've been exposed to something traumatic that they don't understand, here's what they do, right? They will mentally replay that image, that scene over and over and over in their head in very, very detail. I've talked with these kids, right? They can tell me in explicit detail what they saw and trying to make sense of it. So they'll replay it over and over. It's like they're re-traumatizing themselves and they're going through it, but it's not helping, right? Because they don't have the capacity to understand it. They're trying to understand it. So what happens is they stay stuck and they become more anxious, more worried, more confused, right? And that's one thing they do. They mentally will replay that, right? Or they will act it out in kind of a pretend way on themselves, right? And I don't mean to be graphic, but if it's a sexual act, it'll be something sexual. If it's violent, it'll probably be something violent. They kind of will likely act that out with themselves, or they'll do it in their play, maybe with dolls, or something else. They'll reenact it. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to understand. That's why we do play therapy with kids, right? We do play therapy um, to use play to help them process, use their language, their way of understanding. And the last thing that tends to be the most concerning is they will also reenact what they watched with peers, with other people. And it makes them vulnerable, right? They can do something inappropriate themselves. Excuse me. Or it makes them vulnerable. It makes them vulnerable as a target because they're trying to figure this out, and uh, they might reenact it with somebody else, or maybe someone that's older than them. So that's where we get into a lot of abuse and bad situations and things like that. So whatever current event it is that is happening, or when they've seen something, we need to talk about it. But you have to be careful as a parent or a caregiver that you don't talk over a child's head. Meaning, a lot of times we tell them what we think they need to hear instead of listening to their concerns and what they're trying to figure out and help them make sense of it. So um, you do need to give them a chance to talk about it and make sense. And I see a comment in here. It said that someone was killed by some bad people. That would be one way of saying it, but we don't want to put always judgment on it as well. I mean, we don't always know the whole situations, but we want to be able to redirect them into a way that they can alleviate their anxieties. So, all right. So, hey, that's relevant. It was kind of a different direction. We're talking about kids, but we are also talking about getting stuck, and anxiety and fear I would put at the top of the list of why people get stuck. right? We're afraid of our own insecurities, failing, falling, um, falling down again, and we're also uh, afraid of the world or what's the point. And so those anxieties are a big reason why we get stuck. So let me look at a couple other questions I have here. Talking about, let me see here, or some other ones. Uh, all right, yeah, because here was the example I was looking for. A parent was saying, my son avoids everything, job interviews, making calls, even simple tasks. He says he's getting overwhelmed, but I worry that he's just not trying hard enough. Um, in those situations, well, let me put it this way. If you've heard me before, you've heard me say this many times. Uh, I've yet to meet someone who is stuck, who is happy and okay being stuck, and especially a young adult, right? They don't want to be stuck, right? They don't want to feel like everything's falling apart and that people are disappointed in them, and they're not happy that they're using these coping mechanisms and escapisms like substances or gaming or all those type of things. So they don't want to be stuck. Many times they really are overwhelmed. We're just looking at it from a parent perspective or a friend perspective, like this isn't that big of a deal. All you got to do is show up for the interview. All you got to do is get out the door, right? And that's true as far as the behavior, but it's not the behavior. Most times they're completely capable of doing it. They are overwhelmed. So you want to have a specific conversation in that moment. You want to get to the why. And that's what I'll encourage any parent in those situations, any friend of someone who is stuck and they're saying they're overwhelmed and they can't get motivated. Instead of going right to the behavior, do this or you should do that, take some time to hear where they are. What are they afraid about? What are they afraid of? What is that overwhelmed feeling about? There is a reason. Maybe they don't understand it, right? But there is a reason. So we don't want to just push the change of behavior until we understand what's happening. Plus, think about yourself. If you are struggling and someone just comes up and tells you what to do, does that really help? Or would you rather be understood? Right? When someone's taken the time to listen to you, to understand your emotions, to understand the way you're thinking, to get to that point where you're like, all right, they get me, they understand what's going on. Right? When you feel understood and heard and cared about, you're much more open to, okay, let's take this conversation further. So we've got to make people feel comfortable, right? So we're just having a discussion tonight. I went off on a couple of things, just getting into some detail there, but this is a discussion. So let me see. Okay, so here's one. How do we overcome caring what others think about us? Sometimes I feel like my daughter is easily peer pressured. Oh, well, that is huge, right? That is really big. And again, that's usually out of a place of fear. What are other people going to think about me? How am I going to be judged? And we get stuck in that comparison and then that focus. And really, it's more about uh, well, the way I describe it is focusing on things that are out of a person's control, out of your control. Like, so for your daughter, is focused on, well, what are other people going to think about me? You don't control what they think about you, right? And so a lot of the thought and the behavior is focused on uh, how can I get approval? How can I not look bad? How can I not have judgment? How can I fit in? And it's the wrong focus because all of those things are outside of someone's control. Right? We don't control what people think about us. We don't control even what they do. We don't even control if they accept us or not. Right? We have some influence over that. If we're jerks, then people are probably not going to like us. Right? If we're mistreating people, but the real focus needs to shift to identity, to What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you belong? Do you believe in who you are? And so when I see someone who is way too consumed about what other people think, it's usually out of a deficit of not being confident in who they are. And so that's a better discussion. Because a lot of times we might say, well, don't worry about what they think, or, just do it anyway, or, that type of thing, trying to push them. But we're not really talking about how they're feeling about themselves and how to build up um, that sense of confidence and well-being. So I hope that answered your question, but that's a real thing. The comparison and peer pressure, and we're kind of conditioned to that. We're seeing all this internet online, um, the all the social media where everyone's putting their amazing lives and all the awesome things they're doing, and even your friends, the things they put on their Snap, the things they're putting on Facebook or whatever it is all about, these amazing things, these clever things, and we end up feeling like, oh, look at my sucky life, when the truth is we're just seeing the best part of other people's lives. All right, let's go over some other things. Let me look at this. And thank you, Gold News. I appreciate uh, your question there. Let me see here. All right. Let's go over another one for a moment. Another topic. Mm. And yeah, all right, because this was one I was looking up. I have a list of questions some people asked before, or um, so it was about low self-esteem. Someone was talking about, yeah, here it was. They said, every time I see other people doing well, it reminds me that I'm not. I feel like uh, I'm already behind, and there's no point in even trying. See, that I looked that question up because uh, that is something I hear so much, right? We're seeing everyone do well, right? If you're a young adult, you see your friends moving on, maybe getting serious relationships and jobs and careers and things like that, and you feel like you're not. Or, um, it's that social media thing. You're seeing all the other stuff that people are doing well, and it's like, all right, I'm behind. And what that does is it's defeating, and it fills a person with shame and anxiety. And like, what's even the point? Why even try? And again, that's so much a focus on others, and not really looking at the core of who you are and getting to a place where you value yourself as equal, right? People have different lives. They're good at one thing, you're good at another thing. It's not about that comparison, it's seeing us as equal. Um, so I see that Gold News in work. I feel ashamed to be myself. Right? I don't know exactly what that's about, um, but it's that idea of I can't be real, right? And being able to uh, believe in who you are, know in who you are, to have that strong identity, and to reach out. So, um, and then that other thing, not being able to talk about whatever it is, about current things. I mean, some of these topics are just really loaded, right? Some of these current events, it's so divisive. And if you're trying to connect with people, that's usually not the thing to start talking about. Getting to know people on a different level before we start talking about those kind of things. But it is difficult times. It is difficult times, with a lot going on, which kind of leads to the whole anxiety thing, right? There's so much anxiety, and I feel like the last few weeks it has really increased. And from a young person's perspective, I've talked to a lot of young people who uh, they have felt more hopeless, right? They talk about their future. They talk about, their generation, and what is the world that I'm like entering, the workforce I'm entering, and is it worth it, right? And a lot of them they also, I find, are overly saturated with with the negative. I mean, what's the term? Doom scrolling. They're just like looking, looking, scrolling, 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 and it's all the negative. And instead of looking at what are the positives in your life, and that's not just positive thinking, right? But it's being able to be in a place of thankfulness about the good things that you have in your life, and the things that you feel blessed about. Okay. Well, I was just wanting to talk a little bit tonight, and I did that, and I'm glad we had some good comments and we had some interaction, and maybe we're winding down here a little bit, and I think I'm winding down here a little bit. So I just wanted to try out a few things with the stream and talking, and I appreciate everyone for watching. And if you watch this on replay and you have a question you want to talk about an area of your life that you got stuck, or maybe someone you know who feels stuck, and why that is, and what those areas are that you need to figure out, you need to process, right? And how to get unstuck. So if you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have a comment, I would love for you to put it down there, and we can address it in a future conversation, because we it's no good being stuck, right? We get stuck, and it's a rough spot to be. So that's why we were talking about this tonight. So I appreciate everyone who was watching, and I'm going to do one more glance for a couple other questions if there was anything else, but and maybe we'll just address those next time. So thank you for watching, and let me go through a couple of these questions. I know there was one that I was going to get to, and uh, it was on the other channel. And let me see here. Oh, it was about weed. A parent was asking about weed, and then some young adults were talking about marijuana use. And is that harmful? Is that not harmful? Is that really a reason they're stuck, or is it a perfectly healthy thing? I think we'll get into that one at a different date, but I did see those comments. So we will get into that. I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you for watching.